morning. My name is Dev Priya Roy, and I'll be talking to you about how to write a novel. That's the subject of our masterclass today. Um, I'll introduce myself very briefly. I'm a novelist. That's how I think of myself, though actually, I think of myself as a reader who sometimes writes novels. Uh, I've written I've written novels, but I've also written some nonfiction. I've written a graphic biography of Indira Gandhi, and I teach writing to undergrads. I am here to share some of my learnings from about 12 years of living and working as a writer, and I hope it'll be useful to you. How to write a novel? It sounds it sounds intimidating, doesn't it? I was very intimidated when I started to write my first novel. But I'll break this journey into 5 steps, and I'll come back and tell you why 5 steps. Um, there's a sort of a mystery to that number which we'll revisit again and again. But when we talk about how to write a novel, what I want to tell you is how to read like a novelist, how to live like a novelist before you write like a novelist. And then, of course, how do you publish like a novelist and how do you move on like a novelist, right? So, our talk is going to be divided into these 5 different sections. Now, we'll move on to the next section, which is the more sort of pragmatic section. You've written your novel, you followed all the rules, and we've said how to publish like a novelist, right? But this is difficult because until now, all the things that I've said are things that are in your control, right? These are all things you can do. You can become a great reader. You can read a lot more, and you will begin to write better. There is absolutely no doubt about that. We actually at Ashoka University, where I teach, one of my senior students, Payal Nagpal, she designed an experiment which we then studied to see that if you read for 15 minutes a day, only for 15 minutes a day for pleasure, even then, how you write will improve. Your style, your ambition, what you're able to achieve in your writing will improve. So, if you want to be a better writer, you must read a lot. And if you do read a lot and you read intelligently, like some of the ways in which I've said, but there are there's a lot of guidance available, you will become a better writer. Okay, so that is within your control. To become a better writer is something you can aspire to and accomplish. But once your novel is out there in the world, whether it's going to be published or not, whether it's going to be picked up by the dream publisher you had in mind or not, is not in your hands, and it can be very hard, right? So first, I'm going to quickly tell you what the process is. That so in India, we have excellent publishing houses, and if you go to their websites, all of them will have submission guidelines for you. Right? They will mostly ask for a proposal. So write an exciting proposal. Okay, this is something that that academics often talk about. That if you've written a fellowship proposal for somebody, imagine the other person at the other end reading it in the rain, in the 2 minutes they have between they're getting their car repaired, and it's perfect chaos. Okay, so what are you going to write in that proposal that grabs them in that moment? Like I said, they're in the rain, maybe they have a child shrieking, there's all kinds of things going wrong. That's when they're reading your pitch, so you have to obviously pitch it cleverly. So write a proposal that is true to your voice, but that's also fun to read. Okay, don't be self-congratulatory in your proposal and say I have written the greatest novel ever. Okay, because that puts people off. So perhaps be funny. My friend, the literary agent Kanishka Gupta, he talks about how Anis Salim, the great novelist Anis Salim, really sort of got his attention by writing the proposal in the voice of the main character of the novel that he was pitching, right? Hasina. And that really got him. And so that's the when they sent the proposal out to publishing houses, that's what they went with. So be a little interesting in the proposal, and then they'll ask for the first 3 chapters. So again, make sure that your first 3 chapters are well edited. There aren't any mistakes in it. Okay, because you know editors who will read your work, they're usually punctilious about these things. Okay, so if there's a spelling mistake, if there is some grammatical error, they'll spot in the first 3 4 lines. I can tell you they will not want to read on more. Okay, it's going to put them off. So you have to be very, very careful. So, so the opening paragraph must sort of jump out and, hook the reader, as we say. But there's only so much you can do. You can go to so you can follow their submission guidelines and you can submit your work. And let me tell you, after that, it takes a lot of time. Okay, it takes a long time, because publishing houses are also short staffed, editors are doing a lot of work, so it's only once in a while that they look at the slush pile and respond to you. Often this is cruel. If they don't like it, they will not send a regret letter. It's only if they love it, they'll write to you. If they haven't written to you in three months, you should sort of move on from there. uh, don't send it to multiple publishing houses at the same time. Send it one by one, but of course that means that you have to wait for a long time. The other thing here is then to go to a literary agent, because when you go to a literary agent, and now India has some brilliant literary agents, then then if they take you on, then they will pitch on your behalf, and that makes it a lot easier for you. You also know if they've taken it on, then it means that then they've already seen some promise in your work. They may help you refine it further. So, like I said, so today in India, I would say that a literary agent is perhaps a better way to go about it. So once you've completed your novel, take a look at the leading literary agencies in India. There is Siahi, run by Nita Kapoor, India's first literary agency. There is Jacaranda. There is a suitable agency. And there is, of course, as I mentioned, Kanishka Gupta, who writes Writer Side, and Writer Side also offers some help with editing. So, in case your work needs to be refined a little more before it's sent out to publishers, that can happen. There are many others. I'm sure I'm missing. I think there's the book bakers, and there are many others now doing very, very good work. So you have to do a little bit of research around that, and yeah. So that's the way to get published, right? Now we move on to the final section, which is called "How to Move On Like a Novelist." Right? And the reason I set a lot of store by this is because it's very important to understand at the outset that the writing a novel is like practicing an art form, okay, a traditional art form, if I may say so. So that's like if you're learning the sitar, or you're learning a dance, you're learning Bharatnatyam. You know that you have to spend a lot of time getting ready. Okay, so if you have a traditional guru is not going to let you go and perform. Your Aranghetram is going to be much later, only when you're ready to face the world, right? You will have to put in all these hours of sadhana, and when you're ready, that's when you go out into the world, because that's when that's when you're done. But so what happens sometimes in the case of writing a novel is that you get really, really attached to it. Okay, you get so attached to it that if it doesn't get a publisher, then you are crushed and you're defeated. If it gets a publisher and it's published but it doesn't sell 100,000 copies, you get disappointed and crushed. Okay, there are different stages to this. If it becomes a bestseller and it does sell a lot, then you're crushed that, oh, it didn't win any awards. Okay, there's no end to this way of seeing things. What I really want to tell you is that if you want to be rich and famous, there are many other ways in the world. You maybe making Instagram reels is more likely to make you rich and famous than writing a book. Okay, writing a book is a very difficult art. It takes a lot out of you. It's many years to write, at least a year to get published, and then how many people read it? How many people read novels for pleasure? It's not that many, right? You're also competing with Netflix, and Amazon Prime, which are absolutely playing havoc with people's attention spans. So essentially, you're talking about an art form, like I said, a traditional art form. It's not. So if you want to be rich and famous, do something else. Write a novel if you can stand to be broken by the process and come back to it again. Okay. So even if you don't get a publisher the first time, move on. Write your next novel. It's going to be better. Okay, don't be stuck and obsessed with this. If you've got published but it didn't make such a big splash, that's okay. Write the next one, move on. That's, I would say, the most important part of being a novelist. Continue to read and continue to write. Okay, you are going to get better. Nothing can get in the way of that. If you continue to read and you continue to write, you're going to write better and better. That is what, you can tell yourself with certainty, and that is the prize. When to you that is the prize, then you know you're on the right track. Okay, if you think that, oh, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get that award and then I'm going to be so famous, all that pleasure lasts for 5 seconds. Okay, when you come back to writing a new novel, the fear that you felt, the challenge, all of that, you feel it all over again. You're all at sea again, and you're like, oh my god, how am I going to do this? And in cracking that, in actually working through it and accomplishing it, if that is your jam, as warrior would say, or if that's where you get your joy, then you're in the right business. Okay. So what would I just want to say thank you for listening to me. I hope I've been helpful. You can always find me. I'm floating around here and there. You can find me on social media, or you can write to me. My email is roydevapriya@gmail.com, and I'll try and be helpful. And the one thing that I'm going to leave you with is five great novels. Okay, five great novels that, if you um, if you're a great reader, or if you're sort of new to reading, I'll also tell you the order. Okay, so Persepolis right in the beginning, um, written by Marjane Satrapi. It's it's a graphic novel, and if you've never read a graphic novel, now is your time. Get Persepolis and read it. It's brilliant. It'll also give you a new angle to show, don't tell. How much can be told just through the images. So this is something I learned while working on Indira with Priya Kurian. So Persepolis is a great novel, and it'll completely deconstruct your idea of a novel. Mohsin Hamid's The Reluctant Fundamentalist. I would recommend you begin with this. It's a very slim novel. I have it right here next to me. And it's, as you can see, it's really slim. Okay. So it's very easy to read, but it's also written in the second person. So it does something brilliant and dramatic with form. There's this novel by Anne Patchett called Commonwealth. Okay. Um, it tells the story of a extended family over 50 years, and yet it is not a fat epic. How does it do it? It does something spectacular with form, right? So you go read Commonwealth and see how that's done. Here's another novel that I cannot stop recommending, Chimamanda Adichie's Americana. And finally, the book that I love, that perhaps made me a writer, A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. Yes, it's over 1,500 pages, so it's a little bit scary. But once you've read it, I think you won't need any master classes anymore. These novels themselves are master classes in novel writing. Okay, happy writing. Thank you.